camera. Camera did not turn on with the new intro attempt. The joys of trying a new thing. I see the problem. That was a phone issue, not my... That was a camera issue, not a systems issue. Alright, there we go. Much better. I had been depressing a button on the phone that I'm filming with, and it caused the virtual assistant to try and do stuff. So, welcome everyone to our brand new and a hopefully improved painting stream layout. We have downward facing cameras. Ooh. It's very exciting.
They get to face the work, you can see.
We did a whole bunch of work to get here. And now we're here. Hopefully people like it. Yeah. So, what we are is we're doing a painting stream where we 3D print all sorts of models, like this tree stump here. These printers that are directly behind me now. Sorry. And we paint them for use in our D&D stream. We do that D&D stream at 2 p.m. Eastern on Sundays here on this Twitch channel, and all of our old episodes are up on YouTube, as well as all of our old painting videos, streams, I guess. Yeah, painting streams. Hi. And what we're doing today is a bunch of scatter. Scatter being just random little things that you can set out and have it be scenery. I know, things are different. It's pretty scary, isn't it? Change is scary. All of the models you're seeing, you can find the designers on our website, DysonDungeons.com, under the Attributions tab. And what we have today, we have a couple of these tree stumps you've been seeing. We have a couple little campfires. There we go. A couple of campfires. We have a little barrel chair. Whoops, I just threw. And we have a fireplace that we're testing out. There, get it in the light. So these have all been primed and are ready to go. I am going to be probably working on something a little bigger. Are all the fire things lit? Like the campfires and the fireplaces? I'm going to be working on this weird mushroom-y tree. Maybe something from the Feywild, perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm going to see where it goes. I'm going to make it look a little gross, I think, is the goal. And so that's what I'm going to be working on today.
And I'll be working on these scatters. I think I'll start with
campfires.
Campfires. These take a lot of colors, actually, because there's 3 colors for the flame, and then the base and the rocks need to be different colors. So it's not really challenging, but it takes longer than you would think to paint a little thing like this.
Right. Yep.
So I'm going to start at the base of the flame with the yellow, and then orange, and then red, then paint little sticks, and then paint the stones, and then paint the base, and then touch up the sticks and the stones that are hit with the base color. So on we go. Start with yellow.
And I'm going to be putting in some base coat here. I want this to be a little gross, this thing. So I'm going to do the body of it in this buff color.
Does this show okay? Because it really helps me see the piece if there's a white underneath it.
It should be alright if it helps you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm starting by just getting a base coat in to sort of give me a color to work off of. And I'm going to be kind of figuring out what I'm doing with this as I go. And I'm going to be also figuring out painting in this new setup, make sure I'm on camera, so I'm going to be a little distracted. And that's why I'm doing something that doesn't matter too much. So, thank you. Yeah, I know, this is exciting. So I'm going for this sort of weird, maybe like a mushroom, fey, alien looking tree. So this buff, it's called, is going to just make up my base color that I'm going to build off of in my sort of plan in my head. The trick is going to be getting in between all of these branches. And I don't think we have the music playing. That should have started. So let me just do that manually. There we go. Just a few kinks to work out with our new setup. What were you about to say?
I'm not being terribly careful with the yellow. I want to make sure I get the base of the fire covered, because I'll be painting other colors down there later. And then I'm going to draw it up the flames pretty high, because then the orange and the red as near the top of the fire will cover those over. Let's see if I can make it look fiery. Yellow is these colors, the yellow and the orange and the red, actually don't cover very well, so it might take a couple of
attempts,
a couple of coats.
So I'm sort of leaving these nodules at the top untouched, because I'm going to go a different color with those.
There's a little string there of leftover plastic from the printing.
Yeah, sometimes, almost any time you do a 3D print, there's a little cleanup involved. And sometimes you catch them as you're painting, areas that needed to be cleaned. It's just part of the nature of 3D printing. But you get to make really cool, weird, and interesting things at home, which is really fun.
So I'm just putting I know the first coat isn't dry, but being impatient, I'll just put a second coat of yellow on here.
Also, you're definitely not holding it under your camera, so you might either want to reposition your camera or reposition yourself. There you go.
I'm going to reposition the camera out closer to me.
Find wherever is natural for you.
Yeah.
Or definitely, we get to see your knees, but let me just adjust the angle on it so that it's straight up.
I've got this stool that's much taller than Zori is, so
we are kind of adapting and learning our new environment here. So there'll be a couple awkward bits here and there. Alright. And this is very annoying to get in between all of these branches, but luckily this is just a base coat, so I don't care if I splotch in random spots. For now, something I can take note of and be careful of in the future, but for the time being, I just need to get paint on the surface. This was actually supposed to be a tree that, and you can see it's clearly tree shaped. Thank you, yes. We put a lot of effort into this new setup. Um, when we were originally trying to find trees that we could print and paint for the D&D show, until and it just trees are a very hard shape for 3D printers to do. And we found it's not only cheaper, but it's way easier to just buy model train trees. Like, they're already in approximately the right scale. They are already trees, and they look way more realistic than what most 3D printers can pull off. Just sort of a simple plastic trunk with flocking glued on in clusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing with them was that the bases were made to be like glued down
into a train scene.
Into a train scene, but they wouldn't stand up on their own very well.
So we had to, well, my wife, who is the 3D printer, went in and just designed bases herself, some nice simple bases. And we got to print those out, glue them in to the bases after painting and everything, and now we have nice little mobile trees to use in our stream, which is great. So I've put the trunk down in this buff, which will serve as my base color. So I'm going to clean off my brush while I wait for that to dry.
So this next color is orange. And I'm going to get flames and bring them up a little higher.
So, just looking over it, I have these weird bulbs on the top that I'm kind of thinking of doing in like a red to make them look sort of organy. Maybe this will be like a body horror tree, I don't know. But, you know, I have all these weird bulbs, so I think I might use this scarlet red, but I might actually save the scarlet red for to put veins through things. Now that I think about it, could I, when you're available, borrow the yellow?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do them in yellow.
There you go.
How is that primer working on there?
It's holding really well.
Okay, good.
Yeah, did a fine job with it.
I just primed these like an hour ago, so. Alright. So I'm gonna start building in. This will probably take 2 coats. This yellow is a bit on the translucent side. But I'll start getting it in so I can get a second coat on. And one thing I'm gonna have to sort of determine is the transfer between branch and top, because it's not particularly clear on the model where one starts and one ends. So I'll have to sort of create that illusion as I'm brushing. So for now, what I'm gonna do is sort of just create a clean line between the two, and I'm thinking I'll take some buff at later stage and sort of run them up into the yellow.
I'm painting the orange all the way to the tips of the flames, but I'm going to be finishing those off with red later. But that'll give it a consistent undercoat.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing here, this is just getting the base coat in, which is going to give me a lot to work off of. That's how I like to do a lot of model painting, is kind of quickly get in a base coat, sort of like a sketch almost, and then work details in from there. That's the way I kind of find works best for me. So this is a very bright yellow right now. I'm gonna be discoloring it later on to make it a little weirder. But for now, I just want to get it in there so I have something to work off of. And this is a very awkward shape to try and get in and around easily. But it's coming along.
I'll let that sit for a minute. I put the orange paint in this little cup.
What do you think of my alien tree color choice?
Yeah, that'll be, especially if you do the trunk kind of like with a greenish wash or something, maybe.
Well, I'm gonna also be running red veins throughout things.
Oh, that'll be different. I'm just mixing up the red now. I'll put red highlights on the tips of the flames. And I'll get some brown out, some dark brown, and paint if you can see them. You can't really see them, but there's little pieces of wood going into the flames, each one pointing to one of the rocks. And then I'll paint the rocks different colors, and we'll see how this turns out. Hopefully it'll look flamey.
right. Yeah, I'm just gonna be kind of having fun with this, I think, is my plan. Just sort of make some weird combos that don't typically go together or make sense.
It's a nonsense tree.
But I always have a much easier time visualizing the whole process once I get a base coat in. Like, especially with some models like those horses, where it's like, I just can't even see what's happening until you get it painted a little.
Yeah, yeah, with some of the detail, like the reins and things. You can't even see them until they're painted because the uniform color of the
Primer.
primer, yeah.
Details can melt away a bit like that when it's all one color.
What do you think? Does that look flamey?
I can't see your hands covering it. Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll be painting those little sticks. The ground color is going to be kind of a medium tone brown. So for the sticks to show up, I'm going to paint them quite a dark brown. I'm going to use this thing called flat brown, which is the darkest brown that we have. These will just look messy because you can see they're pretty tiny, but I want to get down to the base of them, down to the very bottoms. So when I paint the base coat, the base being the flat earth on the flat earth part,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when they'll stop looking quite so scabby. I'll be careful not to get too much into the flame though, because I don't really want to have to go back and do a whole lot of touching up with yellow.
Yeah, the yellow can be a little bit of a pain to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a little too translucent.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite paint that we have. I generally like the brand, but their yellow is just a little... I imagine yellow is probably a fairly hard color to... Maybe? I don't know. I've never made paint, so I guess I don't really know what's a hard one. Historically, purple was extremely hard to get dyes for, but that was some time ago. Like medieval, Renaissance eras. In Europe, at least. But I think I have a little window I can slip my brush into here. I say it's starting to look more like something now that some of the primer is covered up. It's gonna be a weird tree. I'm thinking it's either sci-fi or Feywild. I'm not sure which. But I just need to get that base coat on. Okay, so that is some yellow foliage or bulbs put in for my base coat. I'm gonna let that dry for a minute. I'm gonna put, I think, some green veins in the yellow bulbs before I tackle. I think I'm gonna work on trying to get the bulbs all sort of set up the way I want, and then build the brown back up over them a little bit to create the effect I'm looking for. So I think.
So you're gonna have red veins in the trunk and green veins in the in the bubbles.
Yeah, so I'm planning to run red veins along the trunk, but the bubbles are gonna have sort of a green veininess to them, and then I'm gonna build. Once I get the bulbs the way I want, I'm gonna build the brown up the trunk a little in tendrils. Create sort of where the connections are between the two, because right now it's just they're just sort of running into each other. So I'm going to select a green. Should I go with the sick green or like the Tamiya green, the darker?
I'd use the Viejo green.
The Viejo green? Alright, that means I have to find it.
All the paints got well organized by being dumped into a bin.
To get out of the way for the reset. But, my wife, Alexis, the 3D printer around here, she has some ideas for a little jar storage system to 3D print ourselves here. That when she gets some free time, she's going to work on. But free time's a little hard to come around here, but come by around here. I sort of got my finger on a little part of the yellow. Clean that up. There. And then there's a couple spots where it's a little more translucent than I want it to be, so I'm just gonna pop a little yellow. I don't actually mind the modeling that I'm getting right now, because it's an alien tree, so it's okay if there's like a little inconsistency throughout it.
Because we know how inconsistent aliens are.
Alien flora and fauna.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's Fey tree then. They can be pretty inconsistent.
Okay, well, you can barely see them because it's against a dark background. But little sticks are brown now.
And when you fill in the rest, they'll stand out a lot more.
Now I'm going to paint some of the rocks gray. I have two colors of gray here. So some will be one color and some will be the other.
I'm gonna be using
Kind of a
this
haphazard fashion.
Vallejo green.
This one's
Called
unopened.
Sick Green, which we haven't used much.
Oh, the neutral gray. Yeah, there should be an open one here though.
Yeah, there should be. Good luck.
We bought a lot of neutral gray.
We got a lot of neutral gray for dungeon sets and things like that. And pretty soon here we're going to be printing out, or we're going to be working on some dungeon sets that are Patreon subscribers. We're the first, we got to vote on which one we do first. It looks like they want to do the magic shop first. But we have a couple big medium, small to large dungeon sets that are on the horizon. And we ran a poll for our Patreon subscribers to see which one we do first. If you would like to be part of those polls, I'll do a little plug here. Our Patreon is up and running now. It's still a little new, still working out some bugs, but it's patreon.com/dice and dungeons is how you can find it. So if you go check it out, you can see we'll be adding improv videos for our D&D sessions that are like warm-ups that are that we do beforehand, and they're just sort of silly. We'll be running polls like the one we did just now. Well, not just now, but recently, with what sets we're gonna paint, what things we'll work on, all sorts of stuff like that. So it's worth a check out. You can get some cool benefits, and we're trying to add more and think of new things as we go. So yeah, if you like what we do, it's a great way. It's the best way to support us.
Mm-hmm. And if you watch the video game streaming, you can see them eating all the mini marshmallows they're buying with the Patreon money. No, that's not true. They're using their own money for the mini marshmallows, but you can see them eat mini marshmallows anyway.
Yeah, I don't know why the mini marshmallows are such a thing with you guys. So, I'm gonna start building out these bulbs and making them look a little weirder.
So these stones have a gap underneath them. I'm trying to get the stone color into that. So that's making a mess too.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm done with this, everything will look really messy, but then I get to put the flat earth base in all the rest of this, and hopefully then it will look okay.
I'm gonna go for sort of a veiny web design on these bulbs. So they'll all be kind of interconnected on each bulb.
Yeah, you do a good job with the veins. You did a nice job with that crystal. putting the
Nice.
veins in too.
Just building in some kind of weird looking veins here. And these are a very weird surface to be painting on because they kind of blob out in all sorts of odd directions.
Yeah, it's just really pretty random, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's why we kind of nixed it as a tree, but I'm just trying to repurpose our test model here.
Yeah, it's vaguely tree-like. Okay, so I'm just getting the dark gray out for the rest of the rocks here. They just don't all look alike. I mean, it's possible. Yeah, maybe after I paint these, we'll see if I want to have any, like a red rock or two, or a black
Brown.
one.
Well, you're already doing a lot of brown there, so you might.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Given that it's just this little campfire thing, I'm not sure how fancy or
Detailed you need
detailed
it.
we need to be in terms of the rocks sitting around the outside of the fire pit. You never know. I mean, you might just say, oh yeah, we haven't had the black paint out in a long time. Let's put some black paint on one of the rocks. Or maybe I could have just left it the black primer and been more careful and not swapped other colors on it.
I think it's generally better, even if you have a black primer, to still paint it black.
Mm-hmm. But then, you know, there's...
starting to get a sort of a sense of...
If we want some of these rocks to be black, then we'll have to debate which ones.
Of this alien tree thing here. I have a lot of empty space up top here. Start building up into that.
There, you can see the contrast in the color of the rocks there.
I keep having to remember that I don't need to show people what you're doing. They can actually just see.
Yeah, the old setup. You couldn't really see. I mean, the camera just kind of shot an oblique angle along the top of the workbench.
Getting a little chunk of paint stuck on the tip of my brush that dried. Gotta clean that off. Alright, so as you can see, I'm starting to build out this bulb. It's my sort of practice test bulb to see what I can do with it.
I'm going to let these dry, and I think what I'm going to do is give the stones a little bit of black wash so they don't look so dull.
That's a good
And then
idea.
some of them could come out darker than others. We'll see. So I'll let that set for a few minutes. In the meantime, while those are setting for a few minutes, you would think that the next step is like, oh, we got all the detail and the stones and everything. The rest will be easy. The base is actually a real pain because of the tiny little gaps in between. So I'm going to end up having to use a much finer brush just to get around the sticks and the stones when it comes to it. So I'm going to get out this red-brown color, which is a really nice brown. And
I like the red-brown a lot.
do these tree trunks. So the way the tree trunks will work is that the trunk is just brown, and then I'm going to use a buff color for the cut part, and use a umber wash to bring out the graining on that and liven up the trunk, and then probably paint the very base part. I don't know. The other ones were green. What do you think? Make them the same? It could be flat earth too. That'll contrast well.
One thing I think you should do with the stumps, different types of trees, different bark colors.
Oh, so like do one red brown and one.
Do like one like almost like in a buff, like a birch almost.
Birch. I actually have like an ivory, and then there's another color. I'll have to look at the color chart.
Sand.
That would be the sand. That would be okay. No, I'll just do this one because it's a nice brown color. It'll be pretty standard tree-like. Use a little bit bigger brush on this one. I'm just covering a surface that'll be touched up later.
I feel like the colors I'm going with, this is like the kind of tree that they tap to get the syrup for Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Because that comes directly from a tree, like maple syrup.
Yeah. That's the idea.
I'm surprised they don't advertise it that way.
Well, they'd have to show this tree.
And people would say, oh, it's still vegan.
It's still what?
Vegan. So it should be okay. I mean, that looks like it's a plant, I think.
It's sort of,
plantish.
It doesn't really work with like most labels, what this is.
used to be another one. I kind of that color. It was what, mellow yellow. Do they still make that?
Oh, there's a lot that do the yellow green. Of pops, you mean?
Mm-hmm. Pops. Until you're in Michigan.
Other states say pop. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Squirt uses yellow and green.
And their packaging,
Yeah.
Squirt itself is kind of a nice, slightly aquamarine color.
I know, but I'm talking about packaging.
Mm-hmm. You might say, why am I using the paint out of the bottle cap? Why are we all doing that? Because I waste it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll just dry there anyway and get in the way. So we usually tend to use the paint in the bottle cap after we shake it.
Okay. I'm pretty happy with that one. That sort of veiny top there on this first bulb. There's a
And when that runs out,
extra chunk of paint off of my brush. Alright. Oh, should I tackle the really big one next? Get it out of the way?
oh, the big blob.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll look good. That's a nice tree color, especially when you put a umber wash on that one. So. Soaks up a lot of paint. I'm going to have to dive into the well-organized paint bin here. See if I can find that color we were talking about.
It's a Vallejo. The sand is a Vallejo, but the deck tan would work too. That's pretty close.
Dark sand.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get the color chart. Is that still around anywhere? There it is.
Right in front of you. There you go. I said I'm there. Because I know you like to access them.
So that's the dark sand. And the deck tan is kind of a grayish color. What do you think?
I think either would be fine.
Kind of put like a black wash on that. Maybe it would look kind of
Or
slightly birchy.
Or like a light umber.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do that. And as we discovered in the past, if you don't like how it turned out because it's paint, and just especially since it doesn't show brush strokes and it goes on nice and thin,
You can go
it doesn't
over it.
hide the detail. You can always paint over it. Could probably paint over this like 3 or 4 times before you start losing any of the detail.
Mm-hmm. I am always amazed at how much detail a 3D printer can print in to a piece.
This jar isn't sealed really well. There's a bunch of paint on the rim.
Huh.
And so it's starting to
Tacky up.
tacky up on the inside. So what I'm going to do is, after I paint this, is I'm going to scrape the paint off the rim so that I can seal better, and maybe put a little bit of isopropyl alcohol in to thin it out. We'll see if it's still thin enough. Yeah, the paint is still pretty much
Good.
okay. I just need to clean off the rim of the top so that it seals better. It's always a little tricky because you don't want the bits of paint you're scraping off to fall into the jar.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not being real careful with the base here. I basically want it to cover all the way down to the bottom, and then when I paint the base color, I'll just paint up to it. Okay, so I clean this brush, or at least dip it in the water. Have to get some clean water because that's getting pretty painty. Okay, so move these things aside.
I'm kind of getting absorbed in the vein building and kind of losing track of everything else. Oh, sorry, I've been quiet, everyone. It happens sometimes when I get very focused in on something.
So I got kind of an X-Acto blade here, and I'm going to tip this.
What do you think?
I like the way the veins are coming out.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to then build the brown up into over the top of everything.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Brush up into the yellow some?
Yeah. That's my plan. Welcome back. Who? Just getting my weird tree painted up here.
Managed to inadvertently leave the biggest, nastiest chunk for the end. There we go.
Oh, nice. Alright. There's a lot of yellow on this bulb to cover.
Yeah, there's a lot of surface area on that.
It's kind of ridiculous.
Okay, that should work better now. Close that down nice and tight. There we go. And then, yeah, that made a mess. Great. Yeah, that paint was still tacky.
Brand new, nice setup. Immediately spray paint shards all over it, right?
Yep, everything's now not nice and clean anymore.
Oh, that was bound to happen.
Let me dump this.
This is always the awkward part when I'm doing things like this, is the sort of, I don't know where it, like the angle plane transfer when you're going from this angle and then bending up and over into the next area. It's always a little awkward to paint.
Okay. So what we're doing next is getting out what will be the ground using a thing called flat earth. I love that name. In this case, it's flat.
As in not glossy.
Color. Yeah, not glossy earth. And
because they call like the non-glossy red flat red. Mm-hmm. It's just their naming convention, but it is always funny.
So I'm going to basically use this brush to get most of it in, but it's really tiny little cracks and things. So I'm going to use this much finer brush when it comes to that part. So this will take a while. It'll be pretty dull and boring to watch.
Thanks for warning people that our stream will be dull and boring.
Just my part.
Now you have to suffer through and see his part, though, with our new setup. Right?
Mm-hmm. Just trying to get some of the paint that I scattered all over. Okay.
That's why you always clean your workspace.
Or move your
models.
Your stuff out of the way when you're making a mess of something else. Okay, well, get this started and see how it goes. I did 2 of these once before. They turned out okay. So I guess I can do the same sort of thing this time.
2 of the campfires? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They just had a battle with them, an episode, or trying to remember when that episode was. We do a battle with them fairly recently. I'm not sure if that one's aired though, now that I say it out loud.
I'm not sure it has.
I think it's maybe next time. But they're nice for any sort of campsite combat. You can include them as a little hazard on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to use the folder stick with this so I can get the edges. Looks like I need new sticky tack.
We have plenty if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did I tackle a lot when I decided to paint this weird tree.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you decided to paint it weird.
Well, how else am I supposed to paint a weird tree?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's called a weird tree. You can't just paint a weird tree normal.
You have to do it weirdly.
I'm doing sort of a big central veins that I can branch and work off of right now. To sort of break ground through areas I haven't necessarily painted yet. Getting these big central veins in there. Like that. And I have to, with these veins, there's a very large tendency for the brush to develop clumps on it. So I just have to monitor that and periodically clean the tip of the brush off so that I don't get huge splotches where I don't want them. I feel like I'm doing okay considering I am basically mostly just drunk coffee today and I'm a little jittery.
But this time, you get this little bitty brush and basically kind of dabbing paint into the corners. Painting up to the surfaces that have already been painted. I don't know if to touch up the links to those sticks because I can't get between them and the rock without touching them. But that'll be pretty easy. It's a raised surface. I'll just be using this and getting a tiny little dot of a dark brown color and touching those up later. This is why if anybody wants to buy these on the Etsy store, they're going to cost like $90.
The campfires? Specifically? Yeah, we are working on an Etsy store. There's a lot that's going to go into it, so it's not going to happen real soon. But it is on the horizon at some point. You can keep an eye out for it. Really have to build out these veins a lot. I don't know why I didn't opt to just make them one color. Seems like a bad choice to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how you learn about things, is you dive into them and then hope that somebody rescues you from the deep end of the pond.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I failed to learn how to swim.
I thought you can swim.
Me?
Yeah.
I can swim like 10, 15 feet.
Yeah. But you can swim, sort of.
Sort of, yeah.
Alright, my weird, veiny tree is coming together. Slowly but surely. I feel like that every time I rotate it, I find a new area that's basically untouched.
It's because you're probably finding areas that are basically untouched.
Thank you, yeah. Boy. Luckily, this is the biggest of the bulbs. I think it's actually technically two bulbs that are like merged together based on the branches, but I'm running it as one single. Oops. I accidentally got a little splotch of green there, but that's an area I'm going over again, so that'll be okay.
There won't be too much touching.
Okay, just have this little section left on this bulb.
nice.
Mhm.
So here you can see the difference between one that has the flat earth plate put on the flat earth part and the one that doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
I need to make this one look like that, and then I got a bunch of touching up to do. And then what I'm going to do is, yeah, that looks good. Those veins are good. It's worth all the time you're putting into it. I'm not sure what we're going to ever use it for.
Probably won't. But it's been sitting around since we got our very first 3D printer.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to stir this paint up from the bottom because it didn't seem. It's a new jar, and sometimes
it settles too much.
Yeah, the pigment settles. You can see there's like lumps of pigment on the bottom of the stick here.
Yeah. If it's been sitting in storage in a warehouse for a long time and all that, it can really kind of clump up at the bottom, and you really need to give it a real good shake or stir.
That out of the way. Shaking again. Well, these turned out to be two very different colors. The stumps.
No, I like that. Having some variation so that everything is the same tree.
Mm-hmm. You think an umber wash on them?
Yeah. I'd do like a variable umber wash instead of just even coating. Do more on the bottom and lighten as you go up.
Mm-hmm. On both of them?
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Let me see if I can get this brown on here. And then we'll do all the touching up. All the different colors need to be touched up again.
I'm kind of just having fun with this. I don't really know where I'm going with the design here. Other than alien.
I'm just touching as I'm looking at it, the base of the flames. It's a little too far. Okay, well, start with the bigger brush again and get the outside.
Welcome back. My green is starting to get a little dry. What little is left, I'm going to put another drop in. Because then I'm starting to run into some clumping issues as it dries. So, maintaining your paint consistency can be quite valuable. Going on much smoother now.
Yeah, that does make a difference. And as you're intently spreading the paint around, sometimes you don't
lose track.
Yeah, and you don't feel like stopping to spread more paint out or something. You just want to keep going. Like it's clumping on your brush and you go, just one more spot, and then that was one too many. So doing this whole outer rim takes about 1/10 the amount of time it takes to do the whole inner part. course, there's a downside to not having detail too. It's like when we were painting, or you were painting all of those dungeon walls. Tons of gray. Gray.
Oh, and then you kind of go like, your brain sort of shuts off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with this you need to be a little bit more attentive.
I'm trying to walk a line of like, on the one hand, I want all of this detail to look good. On the other hand,
You want to be done with it?
It's something that we're never going to use probably, and it's just sort of so I can not have this weird old unpainted test print sitting around all the time. I'm sort of walking a weird line.
In terms of how compulsively careful you are.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm almost through all these low green veins, so once I'm almost done with this one, and then I just have these two little bulbs left, which are probably going to be the hardest ones of all, given how things typically go. Yeah.
Yep, just when you think you're done, and you're at the hardest part.
So these are going to form the top of this alien tree. Once I get these other bulbs done, my next step is to fix up the trunk a little, because I've been handling it and getting yellow paint on it, and then also define the transition between the log and the bulb. That'll be sort of the next step once I get these last two smaller bulbs painted. I've been finding myself leaning forward more. I'm just readjusting the camera.
Yeah, it's been better since you've had the lower stool on.
Yes. One stool was a little too tall and not very comfortable. So I'm very glad we switched that one off. This will be the real hard part. Getting some of these lines in.
You know, really close quarters.
Yeah, between the branches. They're not the easiest to access.
Yeah, the big
Kinda
one had a
makes-
lot of surface area, but it was all exposed.
Mostly, yeah. Whereas this one's sort of awkwardly placed. Alright. And, you know, if you want to paint, you don't, I think the easiest way is to just get a nice cheap model and start going. You don't have to get super into 3D printing and stuff like this right away. Although it can be cheaper to print your own things, but it can be it's a weird hobby. It's sort of relaxing, but also like very focus grabbing at the same time. Takes a lot of focus, but it's a very forgiving thing because if you mess up, you just paint over, which is nice.
All sorts of tiny little spots that need to be touched up.
How's that?
I like it from that side. All you got is one little one down at the bottom left. Huh?
Yeah, and then it's onto a lot of trunk work.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot. But it's starting to give you an idea of the direction of this weird alien tree that I've been painting.
Okay, well, the campfire is now brown too. I'm going to let those set for a bit before I start breaking out the other colors again to do tiny little touches up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to paint the tops of these trunks, because that's cut wood, so it's not the same color as the bark.
Yeah, the inside.
Mm-hmm. So I was going to use the buff for this one, but I think this one needs a much lighter wood. So.
Well, I would actually do like the leather brown.
On the inside of this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, on the inside of that one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, paint this one first. Take just a little bit of paint. This isn't the color I wanted. That's the color.
Was that the deck tan, the other one?
Yeah. I already have that color on it. This won't take very long. I just need to do the inside of the wood here.
Hi, Lexi.
Hello.
Here's our 3D printing lady.
Doing 3D printing stuff.
Are those all set? You got all those cards finally put together?
Yeah. First run at them, so we'll see how they do.
See if there's any flaw issues. That's exciting. A whole reorganization of our 3D printing system.
And this is a little like mage desk.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, that looks like it's got all sorts of stuff on it. Could I see?
Yeah, I'm just trying looking. I like that a lot. That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't sure if that one would come out, but it did. And I forget who the designer of it was, but I will look that up later.
Those are scrolls in holes.
Mm-hmm.
This will be a little bit of a challenge. That should be fun. And then there's a letter opener and a quill on the desk. Just barely. I don't know if you can see it. You can only see it when.
What, buddy?
That's looking really neat.
Okay. Oh, that's going to be pretty fun.
Alright, I need to clean this brush off.
I need to get some cleaning water.
I could use some more too, actually.
Yeah, why don't you hand me that, and I'll dump it and come back.
It's looking very non-potable. That's how I would describe that. I'm also going to change this glove because it has a lot of paint on it. Alright. I'm going to take a look at that while that's drying. So we got, it looks like there's like a little lectern, a book,
Gotta go change these real
scrolls in a holder, a quill, a knife. Is this maybe candles, it looks like? That's a very neat little desk. That'd look great painted.
I think those are scrolls in a holder.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Then there's that quill
And a knife. And I
a
think,
letter opener here
is this like candles on a little pedestal?
on the back.
Right here?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look. I don't know what those are.
I think it's like 3 candles on like a little like brazier sort of platform. Maybe like 3 little red candles would be cool.
Yeah.
Alright.
That'll take about 2 shows to do.
So, it's a little bit of a mess, but I got my bulbs painted in. So now, it's all going to be about refining and cleaning the trunk and defining the transition between the trunk and the bulbs.
Sorry, I'm looking for a particular kind of paint.
And you have my buff, right?
There it is. There's the buff.
Thanks.
I just will need 1 drop of this in this little cup. And I'll do the cut wood on the top here. These Viejos come in these squeeze bottles. About 1 drop at a time into a cup. But you can't get into stirring them on the bottom, so
You have to give them a real solid
to make
shake.
sure that they're really shaken out. Not sure how this is going to look. We'll see.
I'm just making a brush decision about how I want to eat what. I might continue to use this blue handled brush. Okay, so the bulk of this I'm going to clean up after the fact. First thing I'm going to tackle is this transition area between bulb and stalk.
So this has very light bark and weirdly dark wood.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky tree. I like, kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
That happens. Sometimes trees have dark wood.
Yeah, they do. Like an olive.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so building in this transitional area. I think actually, instead of this smaller blue handled brush, if I'm careful, I'm gonna use.
I'm just putting water into this to dissolve some of the paint on the bottom so it doesn't just dry and stick. Not that it matters, we have a lot of these little cups, but why waste them? You don't have to. Okay, now I'm going to get out the little bitty brush again and bring out all the colors I've used already and do the touching up part on these fires. You can see I need to touch up the sticks. Little spots all over the place on the rocks, both colors. So guess we'll start with one of the grays. This gray's as good as any. even find the spots you missed the first time.
I'm trying real hard to squeeze in between some of these branches.
Okay. I got that gray on that one. Okay. Now I'll get the darker gray out.
Okay. Yeah, cleaning up and building up this stock system is gonna help a lot. And then once it's clean, I can add some red to it to make it look a little weirder, but also make the contours of it pop a little more than it currently is.
Okay. Then I'll get the brown and do the sticks. And then what I'm going to do is get some black wash. Just a tiny little bit of it. And put it on the stones. Because, I mean, they look like stones now, but with a little bit of black wash on it, they really pop. I don't think I used the red brown for that. I think I used the black brown.
Probably. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was the really dark brown.
Yeah.
Maximize contrast with the lighter brown earth.
That makes sense to do.
And then you touch it up with the wrong color, and then you got to retouch all the touch-ups that you touched.
Or it's now that color.
Well, there's that too.
That's always an option. Just like, oh, it's that color now. Cool. Alright. Moving on. clean up.
How did I miss that whole spot?
You missed a spot.
In the touch-up.
Oh. Yeah, sometimes when you're touching up, you're just like, how on earth did that happen?
There's spots all over the place. And I thought I touched up and I completely missed them. Weird. Well, we'll do that over.
Yeah, sometimes there's a little bit of a back and forth that happens in the touch-up process. That's totally normal.
I mean, they're really big spots, too. It's like maybe I skipped it. Maybe I just missed it altogether. I did one and not the other. Maybe. You can always watch a replay, right?
Uh-huh. You
Yeah,
have
me
the
too.
benefit of being fully recorded all the time.
Yeah. Find out how I managed to miss that.
Alright, so cleaning up this base here, getting all the random splotches back to this buff brown, getting any slightly transparent areas filled in. There we go. Looking a little more organic now.
There we go. That's much better.
Which is the goal. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. You did a nice job bringing the trunks up into the whatever those yellow,
Bulbs.
green, veiny things are.
So I'm gonna give this a second to dry, and then we're gonna do our next treatment on the stalks here to make them a little less single color and bland. I'm thinking I might lighten them a little. What do you think?
Lighten them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, use like an ivory or something on it to make lighter colored veiny things.
No, I'm gonna take the ivory and water it down, I think. Oh.
Oh, like make an ivory wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that.
And then
It really needs to be totally dry before you do that, though.
yeah, I might put the veins in first and then ivory wash over it so that there's like a subsurface veining going on.
Mm-hmm.
So for my trunk veins, I'm thinking I'm gonna use scarlet red here. But I want it to dry a little more before I go crazy with it.
So I'm going to do the umber washing on this. I'm going to wash the inside of that fairly heavily because there's a nice graining pattern. And that'll show. And as Nikki suggested, this will be darker near the bottom and lighter near the top. So I'll probably start it, I'll just leave it like this and start at the bottom and kind of puddle it and brush it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see how that goes. I'm going to use a pretty large brush to do that because it's a big surface area. So I'll do this bit first. You can see as I do that how the grain shows up.
So I'm not sure how I want to apply the scarlet red quite yet, but I might just figure it out as I go. I just have a tiny single drop here.
So let's see how this works. We'll start at the bottom and brush up. It doesn't show very much on this color, but and you can tell which part has been washed and which hasn't, especially since some of the rough texture of the bark gets highlighted.
I'm just experimenting a little bit here.
And it'll show a lot more on the other one. So, put some on the top here. It's kind of interesting colored wood. I don't know if I'd want furniture made out of that or not, but anyway, that's how it is. So this will show up pretty dark on here. I'm going to pressure on the bottom. And then kind of...
I'm thinking I'm doing red lines and sort of a contour along with the tree.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
So covering the stalk with that sort of effect.
Okay, well this is kind of interesting. What do you think?
Yeah, that's not bad. You liking it?
Yeah. Let's see how it looks when it dries. Okay, now I'm going to take this brush and do tiny bits of black wash on the stones. What do you think? Umber wash on the rest of it?
On the rest of the campfire?
The base.
Yeah, just, lightly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably should have not wasted that. Oh, we'll just... Well, gravity still works.
Good checking. I was a little worried, so thank you for that.
I'm putting some very thin, already thinned, extra thin umber wash on the ground around the outside, just so it's not quite so flat. because it, you know, we painted it with flat earth, so it's pretty flat.
What are you thinking?
Ooh, it's really cool.
It's gonna take a bit to cover the
since
whole.
you're using a really, really fine brush.
To cover the whole stock.
Well, it's pretty ambitious. We'll have to feature that in something. This out, dry it out, so that I can use some black wash in the same cup here. Yeah, that'll just about finish the time too.
Oh, it's already like 5, isn't it?
Yeah, this is going fast when you're painting veins.
Yeah. Lost track of all time. That was like 4.
You don't get to see how yucky it is outside. It's supposed to be raining
So everything, all the snow will turn into slush.
until it starts snowing again.
And then
we're
there'll
gonna
be
get like
ice.
3 or 4 inches of snow tomorrow.
So it'll all turn into ice.
Yeah,
That's
which will
fun.
be great because I have to take Tesla to the vet tomorrow morning.
That's exciting then. This should be fun once I get all of these details painted in to then do all the wash and shade on it.
There you go. So you can see washed and unwashed. Well, that kind of brings texture to the rocks. But I can also color some, so I get more variation in the color.
Mm-hmm.
that's working out pretty well. I'm going to just do this one too. Now the other thing I can do, a little, Nikki suggested this in the last one, it's a little black wash on the inside of the sticks closest to the flames.
Mm-hmm. To create charcoal.
So it looks like it's kind of burning. I'll do that on the other one too. And then these flames, these fires will be pretty much done.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll just...
Gravity working?
Mm-hmm. It's working.
Great. Gotta love gravity.
Ta-da. So, how much longer do you want to go? I could paint the bases of these trees and finish them.
We can start wrapping up, or you can do that. I'm good with either.
It'll take about 10 minutes, maybe. You want to go a little late, depending on how you're feeling.
Oh, that's fine.
What color do you think?
For the trees?
Yeah, the base. Should I just do flat earth again?
I think that it should stand out a little, so why don't you do a dark green?
Dark green? That's what I did before. That's
Yeah.
a pretty good color.
It'll help differentiate.
Deep green or dark green or flat green?
Deep.
Deep green. Good choice. It happened to be the one in my hand. How did you know?
Oh, I don't know.
So I'm just going to be painting the flat part up to the bottom of the tree there, trying to make it look good so I don't have to retouch it, because that would be a pain since it's already washed.
A little hard to get in here. So all of this is looking very bright still, but I have some wash plans that are going to come down the line, I think, to really tone.
I don't know if you want to tone that one down.
I think so. It's too bright, so it doesn't look as organic as I want.
Why would anyone think it was even organic?
Well, that's the problem. I want it to look organic. So I have some strategic wash plans that I'm developing as I go here. Like, I'm gonna use a bit of a green wash on the yellow bulbs in a very strategic way. To kind of sort of hint at what might be inside them.
Somebody's delivering something.
Yeah. Our dog's barking. I doubt the mic's picking it up. It usually doesn't. Almost never. It's a cardioid mic, so it really only encompasses this area right here.
So
and that's about it.
Can't hear our guard dog defending us.
It should not be able to. What are you thinking of it so far?
I really like those red veins. That looks like a huge amount of work, but it's coming out really well.
The awkward part of this model in particular, more than anything, is that because it's so blobby and vague, almost the entirety of it is just basically freehand work. I'm not really following any particular lines or structures to construct it. Welcome back.
Hey.
Finalizing those things for the 3D prints.
Yeah. Discovered something sort of odd about these printers that I've never run into before.
Yeah.
So, in 3D printing, there's two typical methods for printing a file. The first is connecting it directly to your computer. And that's a fairly common one that people use, especially when they're first starting out, or their printer is small, it's right next to their PC. The downside of that is if something goes wrong with your PC, like it freezes up,
That also
has a data glitch, or anything like that,
it messes up the print.
it can mess up the
stops.
data transfer over to your printer, and then your file's screwed up. Also, if you're doing a particularly large print that may take
20
say
hours.
14 or 20 hours. So a few prints that we've made over the years that we've had them have taken about 20 hours because they were just very large.
Like this
But that
one
means you have
took
to
a
leave
while.
your piece. It did, yeah. I think that one took about 7 hours to print.
What do you think?
It's really cool. I like it. So having it connected to your PC, although simple, it limits, one, your location, because your PC and your printer have to be next to each other, which isn't always ideal. Two, it introduces a point of failure, which isn't always good. So what most people who print a lot like to do is have
All the files on an SD card.
or a USB stick,
Or
depending
USB.
on your compatibility. These printers, FlashForge Creator Pros, don't have a USB slot. They have an SD card, which is perfectly fine for me. I use SD cards all over the place. And they actually come with 2 SD cards. But, as I just found out, because I was creating a new, larger series,
Mm-hmm.
the firmware that is running on these machines is not up to date with modern SD card protocols. Instead of using what's called exFAT, which is the modern version of a storage system created by Microsoft, and it's just about drive organization, it uses FAT32 and FAT16, which haven't been used since Windows 7, and have a file limit size of 16 gigs at maximum on FAT32. And they have been depreciated for quite some time now and been replaced by exFAT. I have some drives that I had all set up with new files, and they have, of course, an exFAT because they're larger than 16 gigs, and I come to find out they don't work down here. And that's where I discovered this little mystery of why didn't those drives work. So, for the moment, we're using the old drives because partitioning an SD card and creating a new format in a since depreciated format kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tackle that later. But the new sets are all ready to go. And we are going to be printing was it the Magic Shop?
The Magic Shop won our Patreon poll. Yes. So, that's the first set of many to be printed and painted.
Well, those of you who have been watching and those who haven't, we now have 2 stumps.
Those are looking nice.
Very different. I like the traditional stump.
Yeah,
But,
I kind of like
there's
that.
kind of a place and time for that. And 2 campfires now blazing away. So, that's what we did today. Campfires and stumps.
And alien trees.
And an
That's-
alien tree.
Getting a close look. That's cool.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, I do.
It's kind of weird.
Nice campfires as always.
Oh, thank you.
I like your little different stump. You did kind of a lighter.
That was
Color.
Nikki's idea to do that.
Yeah, I like that. Turned out nice. Well, that's all I am here to do. So I'm gonna bugger off.
Well, we're just wrapping up, so if you want to help with the outro, go ahead.
Sure.
Well,
Since you're a guest star.
this whole work surface, when we started, there was nothing here.
And now there's stuff
now-
everywhere.
And now it's just, you can't see it unless I move the camera. Like 2, 3, a dozen paint containers.
You do have quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of colors that went into these things.
The campfires are deceptively complicated with the number of colors involved.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those moments
And the
where
kind
you
of
step
detail.
back and you go, oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Where did all that come from?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold off on the rest of this tree for now. But the rest of all of that stem needs to be enreddened, I believe is the term.
In reddened?
I think that's the term, yeah.
And then once everything has been
Rederated.
reddened, I can begin the shading process of everything with the washes. I'm going to use some green wash in parts on the top here, and probably black on the stalk.
Yeah, the trunk has a lot of really cool convolutions and details.
Yeah, it's a
It's
pain.
really, yeah. It's a pain to paint. It looks nice, though.
Yeah.
So then,
So, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you liked what you saw here, you can check out the designers on our website, dicendungeons.com, under the Attributions tab. Like I said, we print and paint everything here ourselves, or almost everything. If you're interested in having a say in what we print and paint, check out our new Patreon on patreon.com/diceanddungeons, and where we periodically run polls for our patrons who determine that we're going to be doing a magic shop next. This would be really nice in the magic shop. This little,
Yeah, I printed that out as a little
Yes.
test. See
I
what
like
happens.
that. Did you want to add something? You started talking.
yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, thanks for watching, folks. We are printing that magic shop behind us. It should be ready by Friday's stream, so you get to see
wow,
that.
that quick.
Yeah, should be ready by Friday.
It is a smaller set. So.
Yeah, because these sets are all going to be premiered right here on the stream, and we are hoping to open up an Etsy store with these. So keep an eye on this as we build up our stock to launch an Etsy store in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for coming by, and we will see you all. When's our next show? Well, tonight.
Our next show is tonight. We'll be streaming Final Fantasy XIV later this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern.
And next time we'll be painting will be Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Bye.
Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon.